Hi, everyone. We have a lot to cover in the very short session, so I'm going to keep this pretty quick. I'm Samantha Bobot. I'm with Digital Currency Group. In addition to being the parent company of CoinDesk, our host this week, we've invested in over 200 projects in 35 countries. We've been early backers in a number of metaverses, including Decentraland, Wilder World, Space, and a new one coming from Improbable. We've also invested in a number of businesses that are building the tools and the applications that we believe will power those virtual worlds forward. I'm very fortunate to be joined today by a group with very varied perspectives on where the metaverse is headed. So we have Parina here from FlickPlay. We have Evan from a company you might have heard of. It's a little thing called Amazon. We have Vince from Meow I'm going to ask them each to kick off with introductions, tell you a little about their projects, and why the metaverse matters to them.
Hello, everyone. My name is Pierina. I'm the founder and CEO of FlickPlay. FlickPlay is a Web3 social app where people can unlock and flex their NFTs. We believe that we create a more tangible experience for NFTs, focusing in two core pillars, which is using our likability to build the social value and graph of NFTs, and by adding real-world utility by extending using our map to really power the next generation of NFTs, which at core will have some sort of tangible utility. You can think of the platform as Pokemon Go meets TikTok with the integration or twist of NFTs. My background is I work as an architect with focus with new technology for a few years for Frank Gehry. And yeah, got really passionate about the future of the realities we create and started FlickPlay about 3 years ago already.
Good stuff. Hi, guys. I'm Evan. So I lead business development and strategy at Amazon Web Services for all things spatial computing. So we consider spatial a spectrum of immersion, so from just 3D on your phone all the way to full immersive VR and even AR. And my focus there is to help Amazon move up the tech stack a little bit, just from raw infrastructure, and focus on some primitives to help creators and developers, 3D creators specifically, really automate the 3D content creation process, make it much easier to build 3D assets, to manage 3D assets, to deliver 3D assets and experiences to any computing device. I also, on the side, write a newsletter called Medium Energy, where I talk about the convergence of exponential tech, being human, what that means for the human experience. And as for why the metaverse matters to me in the mixed reality context, I think mixed reality, augmented reality is going to create a much more natural human computing experience, much more natural user interface. Today we have to deal with all this abstract symbology and folders and buttons, and there's this pretty steep learning curve. You can't just pick up a computer as a young child or a grandma and know how to use it. But with augmented reality, we can build an interface that really conforms to how we've already evolved to see and interact with the world. And most importantly, it allows us to look up from our devices. Right? I see a lot of people down on their phones right now, and I think there's a really beautiful thing that can happen when we turn the world into our desktop background. Lots of scary implications if we do that wrong, but if we do it right, I think it just leads to much better conversations, much better learning experiences, and a much more natural human-computer interaction.
I'm Vince Lubeck. I'm one of the founders and directors of a company called Meow Wolf. Meow Wolf is based in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and we are an arts and entertainment production company. We do these large-scale immersive storytelling experiences based in multimedia art. We have projects in Santa Fe, Las Vegas, and in Denver. And yeah, I think we want to be a storytelling company of the future. And with that, comes like the need to integrate story experience throughout people's lives and in ways that are ongoing and persistent and dynamic and fluid and substantial and with integrity, and also like both fictional and non-fictional. I think storytelling has been evolving in the direction of blurring the line between fiction and nonfiction, that's kind of been the trajectory of storytelling. And so, in our vision of storytelling, it's really about creating persistence at all times, and in order to do that, digital technology is going to have to be implemented, and that's where we dovetail, with the term metaverse. I'm a big proponent of the imagination, and I believe that humans' trajectory on this planet, and really consciousness's trajectory since the beginning of time, has been to create from the imagination. Digital technology supports that, and the metaverse to me is just the continuation of what we've already been doing. It's expressing our imagination, building infrastructure that makes that imagination have integrity and persistence, and building platforms where the imagination can be experienced together. So to me, it's really just like continuation of a trend we've been on since the day that the universe began, and that's what gets me super psyched about it. Entering the dream together.
Thanks, guys. So with that, we're going to dive into the metaverse future. I think we're all here because we believe that it will significantly influence how we spend our time, how we relate to each other, how we relate to our physical surroundings. So I'd like to take it just big picture. How do you view the metaverse impacting the future of society?
Yeah, I think like oftentimes we hear about the metaverse as something that decontextualizes us from our reality. And I think that might take, even before the NFT movement last year started, it was, as an architect, I think about this idea, and it ties a little bit to what you were just mentioning, of shifting the reality, right? It's not about changing the context of the things that you're a part of, but shifting the storyline of the context that we all live in. We all live and come from places where culture has a fundamental impact on how we shape our identity. And the idea of like shifting the storyline and enabling people to rediscover their cities, reshape their identity and their connection to where they come from and how they interact with their cities with the use of digital layers and by integrating the things that they own within the context of how they shape those digital storylines. It's the way I think about that evolution.
Yeah, Evan?
I love it. For me, when I think about the impact on society, I use a fancy phrase, and I talk about injecting our perceptual system with really unlimited agency. And why does that matter? Well, we're at a time where there's a lot of people who are afraid of things like automation and pushing people out of routine jobs. Those people are going to be left without a skill set and the ability to do a lot of things that can help them make money and earn. A lot of people are fearful of the widening wealth gap and opportunity to give people opportunities to, earn and do jobs and contribute to the labor force. And so I view augmented reality, mixed reality, as something that can even the playing field, right? As something that can allow people to quickly go do a new job that they didn't have to go study in school for 3 to 5 years. They can quickly learn how to assemble an aircraft, quickly learn how to be an architect and be an interior designer without having to study as much as they would have to otherwise. So that idea of just increased user agency, I think, is really going to be pervasive and super impactful.
I mean, the metaverse is like pretty consistently, referred to as like a virtual world or a virtual platform or a series of virtual platforms, really living exactly like on the digital side of things. But to me, like the future, what happens in the future that's really exciting to me is how the metaverse unlocks really incredible physical experiences. The opportunity to use digital infrastructure, persistence, gamification, currency, in order to deliver like surprise and delight in our everyday lives, is the thing that I'm most psyched about. Putting people into the creator mindset, and putting people into basically providing the tools where exploration and discovery can be present in our lives all the time.
Vince, you just mentioned delightful new physical experiences. Is there one that has you particularly jazzed right now, or that you can share with us, or an experience that's just going to be so much better?
Well, yeah, I mean, you could say that it's on a metaverse platform. I mean, it's just, I guess, whatever definition you know, or that that it's connected to the metaverse. But I mean, yeah, all of the Meow Wolves. It's not just self-promotion. I can promise you, like the 3 Meow Wolves, Santa Fe, Vegas, and Denver, are like the coolest immersive experiences in the world. They're unbelievable. I especially like the Vegas one. The Vegas one is trippy. The Vegas one's psychedelic. It's spiritual. It's like questions, has a lot of like social questions and commentary. So yeah, I think Omega Mart in Vegas is like the one that I would point to.
Yeah. Evan, you think a lot about the tools the creators, the developers need, but you're also thinking about the end user. So for you, what's that use case or new special experience that you're thinking about right now?
Yeah. I talked about user agency, and within that context is just, for me, it's all about education and better knowledge transfer and a better ability to learn. There are studies out there right now that show when you read on your phone or on a small screen, your ability to retain that goes down like quite a bit, like 20, 30%. They also have data that shows when we're on our phone and reading, something happens to the way we breathe. Like one of the things that allows us to stay calm and reduce stress, obviously is our breath, but there's this thing we all do called a deep sigh. You might think that you don't always do that, but you are always doing a deep sigh, even if it's super subtle. And when we're on our phone reading, that deep sigh stops. And so it really impacts our physiology in all kinds of ways. And so if we can open up that surface area, but do it in a subtle way, right? Do it in a way where it's just the right information at just the right time in just the right place. We're not going to have to like pull up a phone and have all these different icons and these little notifications. I just got one. Oh, I got a follower on Substack. Thanks, guys. Like when I pull it up, like I got a million things, and it's embarrassing how often I just go to ESPN. But if we can just have super subtle user experiences and super subtle information, it's going to downstream lead to our physiology changing. So that's pretty powerful to me.
I feel like the deep sigh is a bit like yawning or blinking. When someone mentions it, you just start doing it. So my mic started sighing. That was it. Farina, over to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that when we think about the tools we use every day to build our identity and social media, it feels kind of like a self-serving tool for us to shape our identity and build our status within communities. But really the use cases are endless. Like one of the use cases that we have introduced that really excite me is a partnership we have with City of Santa Monica in Los Angeles, where we're becoming the digital map for the city. And a lot of the efforts that the city are taking is that, or the issue that they currently have is that a lot of people walk through the main street, but not really circulate through the alleys. And it's been proven that unused spaces drive higher crime rates. So what we are doing by becoming their digital map is that they are allocating physical art in these unused spaces, and we are tokenizing them, and we are reshaping the way people interact and rediscover the city by how they interact through our map, right? So when you think about visitors coming and leveraging these tokenized, beautiful experiences that pop from physical art, is not only a self-serve tool for people to build their identity, but they are contributing towards a social and cultural good for the city that once we evolve the platform, locals will be able to own these tokenized experiences and monetize it with tourists. So I think like those are use cases that we're constantly thinking of.
Yeah, I feel like some of you evoked use cases like Evan with reading, learning, meditating that are much more insular, right? They're like how you spend your time alone. Brina, you've looked a lot at human connection, the social aspect. I guess for all of you, how do you think about the one that will win out, or will they both? The kind of more solitary experience versus collective? Maybe Evan, kick off with you on that.
Yeah, I mean, I fundamentally think that the power of AR is social and collaborative, but I'll let these guys talk about that. I think it's going to be both. But what people don't think a lot about is the power of these immersive experiences to really induce states of awe and give people transcendent experiences. And why does that matter? Well, look at Burning Man, right? It's ironic because the people that create tech and social media, they go to Burning Man to escape it and to reset their nervous system, to reset their worldview, and they're a bit transformed. They come back as new people if you ask these people. But not everyone can afford to go to Burning Man. The irony, right? That the people that can afford are the ones inducing a lot of the problems. But what I think about a lot is like, what if we could build immersive experiences that have the effect of those Burning Man moments of connection and awe? And like my go-to example is the overview effect. I'm sure you've all heard about that. You go into space, you look down, you see the Earth, and it just makes you realize how small and insignificant you are and how connected we all are. And you can see a picture of that and you can hear about it, but like, man, what if you could virtually go into space and you could actually have that experience? And what if you could put on a headset and, you know, go to some kind of refugee camp in Syria and just have empathy for that experience? I mean, today we flick on our phone, we see some kind of catastrophe, we get the next text and the next social media alert. There's no empathy. And so I think a lot about having experiences allow us to go inward and experience transcendence. Experiences allow us to go inward to someone else's shoes, experience their plight. And I think that creates a much better world when we go inward and know ourselves better as a result, and when we go outward and know the other better. Because today we don't know the other, right? All we know is the 2% of people who are super loud on social media. And that doesn't represent the majority view of what people feel on both sides of these equations. And so I think immersive experiences can change that.
Yeah, Vince, do you think more about like the individual experience?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely am excited about the collaborative and social elements of, the collaborative and social elements that technology has brought us, you know, basically since technology has been around, and the metaverse will also bring us. But I think like one of the most powerful things that I consider with regards to these tools and having a platform like the quote unquote metaverse, really having digital infrastructure that kind of connects all parts of our life, is that it sets the individual human up for being a future-based person. You know, we have this part of our brain called the hippocampus where the ability to create an image in your head happens. We're really good at creating past-based images. We call them memory. We're really trained as a species to create past-based images. And it's really difficult for us to create future-based images. But I think what technology allows us to do is store a lot of the past-based information and give us the tools to have future-based image creation, which then completely transforms the way that humans experience the world. We're now experiencing the world as individuals who are becoming something rather than individuals who have been something. And to me, like that's stepping into creator network, that's stepping into the creative, that's stepping into like our God self, you know, basically being imaginative beings who are future-based, who have the tools to create anything from our imagination. So that's what I'm excited about.
Quick thing I want to riff on that. It made me think of a quote that I use probably too much, but it's by a guy named Edward O. Wilson, and he says that you know, the plight of society today is that we have Paleolithic emotions, medieval institutions, and godlike technology. And I don't think that we're going to be able to harness godlike technology unless we can become godlike ourselves. And so that ability to use technology to tell stories in godlike ways, to have imaginations that are godlike is the only way we can counteract it, I feel.
Yeah, and when you say that, it's not like some big, like, powerful thing. It's actually something that, like, every artist knows very well, which the godlike ability is to imagine something and then create towards it and then see it exist in front of us. It goes from the nothingness of an idea to the somethingness of its manifestation, and that's that's like, we do that on a small scale right now compared to what we're going to do in the future when we have a metaverse to empower that.
Yeah, Parina, I want to give you a chance to get in here. More.
I think, in my opinion, it's both. I always like to bring things down to how we behave as humans in the real world. If you think about the three main sources of identity and status in the real world, is the communities you're a part of, your popularity within those communities, and how the things that you own shapes how tangible and intangible shapes your participation within your communities and the popularity you win through them. So I think that when we think about like overall like identity and how that conveys in the digital spectrum is within Web3 and Metaverse, is the idea that now you can leverage the things that already build your identity within the space. And it's not anymore about that idea of something being singular or being groupal. It's about us being on a stage or in a point in time where we're coming to a full circle on how technology in a 360 way is integrating every aspect of human value that we have in the real world, or that have shaped our identity in the real world. And that's what we call the wallet, right? The idea, and we're not diving into interoperability and how identity will convey across platforms when you jump from one ecosystem to another one, but there is this sense of singularity as you migrate a platform, and your wallet has already like a library that represents your identity with the things that you own, social data, and so on. But at the same time, there is this community-centric experience that you're creating when you share with your community, with your certain experiences, whether this is in a fully immersive space or whether that is through a AR experience that you're creating a video, sharing it, and conveying all these different qualities in one moment.
So I think on a Saturday, it's good that we have focused on the positive, on the ways that this is going to evolve our experiences in such exciting ways. But we will get the elephant out of the room, or on this stage, we can call it like the Ready Player One. We've all seen kind of the imagery, like kids shuttled up in corners with VR goggles. This idea that we become so detached from the real world, we forget our place in it, we don't take care of it anymore. I guess I'd like to ask you guys, what's stopping it from ruining our humanity? Why shouldn't we be fearful? Maybe Evan, we want you to kick off here.
Sure. I think people are fearful because this has already created fear, right? And they know that this is a Metaverse 1.0 device. And so if you're fearful because of what this is doing, then you're just skeptical about human design and human ingenuity. And so what I welcome people who are fearful is to believe that we will get to a Metaverse 2.0, a 3.0 device. So it's a form factor problem. And if we can build AR glasses that adapt to us and know us better and pull up the right information and know when our emotions are spiking and when we need to kind of calm down and go meditate, like these things are going to be able to do that with biometrics and stuff. Then I think we have a device that gets kids out in the world. For example, right, today kids are playing Fortnite and it's pretty social, but that form factor of that box and that screen, you're indoors. And if you can get out in the world and experience the world and people in all new ways, my favorite go-to example, I'm sure I see a few AR OGs that probably know this example, but there's an article about a kid who played Pokemon Go, and he had a certain level of autism, and he was depressed. He didn't have any friends. His family was worried about him. He had no confidence whatsoever, and he found Pokemon Go, and he's out in the world, and now he has this whole community of friends that he plays with, and he has a whole new level of confidence as kids, his parents never have seen before. So that's a super powerful anecdote that I think can transmute to so many different use cases and experiences.
Yeah, I mean, I fear that we're going to get really, so focused on the virtual and the digital, and we're going to continue to ignore the physical world around us.
We're fighting against that.
Yeah, totally. like and with that, I'd say it's just a lot easier to pump money into something digital because it scales faster.
Yeah.
So, it's like it's difficult for investors or funders to like build interesting physical spaces or to impact the physical world and, in a unique way. So then what we're left with is like, boxes like this convention center or suburban developments that are copy paste everywhere in the world. Because most real estate developers and most people financing real estate projects don't really want the risk of unknown, unique things. And so my fear is that like it ends up just being that the interesting content continues to be digital content as it has been for like the last 30 years, and that we go further down that road. So like it's really the people in the world who can stop that from happening are artists. And so, but currently many artists are pretty skeptical or even adverse entirely to the metaverse concept because it's like not real, and artists want to make real things. So it's like my hope to how we kind of solve for this is that like artists and creatives, that the artists and creatives who build the future mixed reality experiences are paid well and are sought after by companies so that the creative's good. Like I'm a big theme park fan, I'm a big amusement park fan, but the creative sucks in that industry. It's like it's for whatever reason for the past 60 years that industry is just like ignored artists. And so then when you go to an amusement park, it's like eye roll, really boring stuff, and I'd hate to see this industry go down the same path of like ignoring the artist.
Yeah.
Because that's what makes experiences cool.
You mentioned kind of being dispirited at the lack of innovation about physical space. Parina, you focus so much on the intersection, so where metaverse comes and touches the real world. Is that sort of your answer to the salvation? Like,
yeah, I really like your following that trail of thought. I think it's a responsibility. I think that now we have background. We have seen what has happened within Web 2. What are the things that we want to learn from it, and how do we want to evolve? And in following back to what you say is who are the responsibility that the creators of this reality have over what we build and to create the next generation of human behavior, because that is really what is being foundationally being established today. So when I get in a room and I hear the future of Web3 and NFTs is goggles and you're fully immersed, I'm like, whoa, like I like going to a concert once a week, once a month, right? But if the hope that we are creating for how we think about mass adoption of technology is that we are gonna have kids, I don't have kids, but look, anyone that has a kid, like go through that process is like we are defeating like what makes us human, what creates that human connection. So I go back to the idea of responsibility, understanding who are the creators rather than only what is the vision or mission of the company and how human sensibility will power a better metaverse for all of us.
Vince, I know you've spoken about like there's a creative in anyone. Do you think that that the metaverse makes everyone a creator, or does it stay that there's sort of two types of users, the creator and the consumer?
I hope that I hope we move away from there being strictly consumers. I think that that's like part of the passive entertainment era and the passive, consumer era. I think that the metaverse, hopefully in its fullest form, unlocks the creator in everyone.
Evan, how does your work touch on this? How do we empower creators?
Empowering creators.
Or maybe now we put you on the spot on decentralization, right? How do you feel about that? Do we need big tech to like make our metaverse dreams come true, or?
I'll hit on that and I'll go right into that. I'll parlay those two. So empowering creators, I mean, today creators, they just don't know their audience and know their fans. And so to me, there's opportunity for them to use NFTs as a new engagement mechanism and to know who their audience is and I was talking to a creator recently, and they were like, yeah, like my fans, it's just like, I don't know who they are on Instagram or Twitter. It's a lot of randos, a lot of bots, a lot of spam. There's no real one-to-one conversation and connection. But in my Discord server, it's like a little family. And we know each other so well. And even the people I don't know, I know they would help me if I was in a bind, right? Like I needed a quick favor from somebody. So that kind of community curation creators can create is a pretty empowering thing. Now, a lot of that is built on decentralized foundations. So real quick, I'll hit on, I think decentralization, it matters at certain layers of the tech stack. Like, you're not going to build AR glasses in a DAO. It's just too much money and too much effort to do that. But at the data layer, right, if we can do it properly there, then we give people choice and optionality. And I think that that's where it's important to have decentralization. I know we're close to time, so I have a lot more to say about that, but I'll keep it at that.
Maybe Karina can take the idea of the tech stack over to you. Like, what do you see as the main milestone for creators to be fully empowered that you work with?
I think that Web 2 made us all creators, right? I think that being a creator has many definitions. Like you can be, and I think like it's been proven that the general public, like it's, even as an art, I always give this example. If you go to a Nike website and you have the chance of fully customize your shoe, you might spend an hour or two designing it and then like I'm just gonna buy the one that is already fully designed, right? So I don't think that everyone is fully, feel fully confident about being the creator of the experience, but they are the creators of their reality. And this is something that has been evolving through the whole generation of social media, from shaping communities to creating and sharing your reality to architecting your reality through video creation, right? So I think that as we think about this next phase and we see the NFT space going from more of a horizontal stack where everything is considered a collectible to a more vertical stack to a more horizontal stack where we start to see collectibles being valued as collectibles, experiences in the real world, tokenized experiences in the real world being valued as experiences, right? It's like we can make the world at Disneyland with digital layers. We see coupons playing a role of it. So all these NFTs it's reinventing to create everything that we see in the real world, and the utilities of them will fit the ecosystem.
I think that segues maybe to a good lightning round to close off with. Sometimes in crypto we forget, or we maybe talk about less the key hardware, right? And I know with you guys, you've all looked at, or you've spoken a lot about what VR goggles are going to unlock and how much of a gating item that is. Like when we have the full consumer grade, ready to power it all, that we can't even imagine what comes next. So I'm going to put you on the spot here. What year do we have those? When do the Apple ones or the whoever ones come?
Consumer AR glasses, like Ray-Ban AR glasses, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we already have consumer-ready VR, but that's less interesting to me. But consumer-ready wearable AR, 2025.
Okay. Evan,
I'm going to be, I think it's 2028, 2030. It's going to be a little while.
Okay.
I have hope. I think 2025. We're going to have the first version. Yeah.
And I'm just going to lowball and say, like, next year, Santa Claus brings it. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome.
And thank you to our amazing panelists.